Hi, I want to thank you for watching my videos. I'm Dr. Jason J. Campbell. In this video, I'm going to answer a pretty interesting question. Philosophy doesn't always have to be necessarily heady all the time. It doesn't really always have to be academic. You can use philosophy to answer pretty mundane, pretty basic questions. And I couldn't think of a question more simple, more basic than the question, which came first, the chicken or the egg, right? What I'm going to do in this lecture is I'm going to use Aristotle to answer that question, which came first, the chicken or the egg, and we'll see how Aristotle's use of potentiality and actuality will help us form a coherent understanding and also a coherent answer to the question, which came first. Okay, so with that being said, let's begin. Alright, so which came first, according to Aristotle? Okay, so the question is, which came first, the chicken or the egg? And the attempt to answer that question is a difficult question for one very simple reason. And the name of this reason is as follows. If we say we have a chicken, which we'll label as C, or we have an egg, which we'll label as E, the question is, we know that chickens come from eggs, and that eggs come from chickens, and so on and so on and so on and so on and so on. The problem is, however, that we need to find out which came first. So we need a foundational claim, a foundational starting point. We need something to ground this and then say this was first, and then from that followed everything else. But we can't figure out which one came first because each are dependent on the other. So the question is, which one came first? The attempt to provide a foundational starting point is complicated by a problem known as an infinite regress. An infinite regress is a regression to the infinite, and it's unacceptable, right? It's always unacceptable to say that my answer regresses to the infinite. There was an interesting parable about an infinite regress. A young boy goes to the guru, right, wisest man in the village, and he wants to find him. So he leaves his house late at night, he walks out into the middle of the bush, and there enough, under the moonlight, is the guru meditating. And he goes to the guru. He goes, "Guru, I know that under my feet is the floor, is the ground, is the earth. And I know that the earth is supporting my feet. But what, Guru, is supporting the earth?" And the guru looks to him and he says, "Oh, that's simple, my child. Under the earth is supported by an elephant." He goes, "Wow, the earth is supported by an elephant." So the young boy says, "Well, I'm supported by the earth, and the earth is resting on the back of an elephant. So obviously the next logical question is, well, what is supporting the elephant?" And the wise guru says, "Turtles. A turtle." And the young boy says, "A turtle? Okay, sure." And then the young boy asks the follow-up question, which is, what's supporting the turtle? And the guru says, "It's turtles all the way down." Right? The attempt to answer the question with "it's turtles all the way down" recognizes that the continuance to try and attempt to see what's supporting what will lead to an infinite regress. And to prevent that, he just says it's just turtles all the way down. Obviously, this is not a valid or acceptable answer. What we want to do in answering which came first, the chicken or the egg, and I promise you by the end of this video you will know which one came first, and it will be sound. Which one came first, the chicken or the egg? Aristotle doesn't use it discussing chickens and eggs. He uses it discussing acorns and oak trees. So this will be our acorn, and this will be our oak tree. Alright, so Aristotle uses it discussing acorns and oak trees. Obviously you can see that we would just substitute the oak tree with the chicken, we would substitute the acorn with the egg, and it would fit. So Aristotle's discussion of acorns and oak trees maps precisely over this discussion on which came first, the chicken or the egg. Alright, well, to think about how we begin this analysis according to Aristotle, Aristotle looks at existence in this world. And I can't go back and give you all the historical note, but his theory, his ideas were in a sense in opposition to Plato. Plato believed that we had this world and that we had a world of transcendence. Plato believed we had this world and a world of transcendence, right? So that we were always aspiring to leave this world for the world of transcendence, the world of the forms. Aristotle looks at this idea, and I discussed this in my video, Plato's hierarchy of the forms, right? So I go into like explicit detail to describe what that means, but I'm not doing that now. Aristotle looks at this and he goes, well, I definitely know about this world. I know about my physical being, I know about my physical body, but I'm not so sure about the world of transcendence. So Aristotle is not interested in discussing the world of transcendence, right? All Aristotle's concerned about is discussing this world, right? Because according to him, that's basically all we really have. So everything that Plato situated in some transcendent world, in some transcendent realm, Aristotle seeks to situate those things in this world. The most important thing is to ask yourself, how did all of this come to be, right? How did the universe, how did our existence, how did we come to be, if we're not going to say that some deity put us here, if we're going to say that we came here out of physical substance, out of matter, right? Obviously this is way before Darwin, so he wouldn't have used the word evolution, but basically how did we get here? How did we evolve to become who we are, what we are? Well, Aristotle recognizes that we can talk about the transformation of forms, right? We can talk about the transformation of things, right? Forms, without talking about it being transcendent. Plato would have described the forms, as I said in my previous videos, as something being transcendent. Aristotle refused to define form as something being transcendent. For Aristotle, form is not transcendent. Right? For Aristotle, form is not transcendent. For Aristotle, and this is important, form equals function. For Aristotle, form equals function. So you can see if I say that I want to know what the form of a thing is, right? I want to know what, for example, a chair, the form of a chair is. Aristotle would say, well, the form of a chair is the ability for you to sit in it, right? You need support when you're sitting, right? You have three-legged chairs, you have two-legged chairs, you have four-legged chairs. Despite the fact that the material construct of the chair may vary, the form is the same, right? The form is the same. So philosophers are the only people in the world that can get away with talking about stuff like this, right? Chairness, right? Only a philosopher can talk about chairness and get paid to do it. Chairness is the idea of the ness, the form, the generality of talking about chairs, right? Speaking of chairs generally. And talking about chairs generally, we're talking about the form this thing has. But it's not like Plato's concept of the form, where form is an existence outside of this universe. For Aristotle, form is nothing more than the function that this object serves. And in another video, I'll go into more detail on that. In discussing form, however, we recognize that this chair is a product, let's say it's a wooden chair. This chair is a product of some trees and some manufacturing and some other things. What we recognize is that there is a distinction in forms, in all forms, in most forms, for Plato in most forms, in Aristotle in all forms, because for Aristotle it's all matter. And obviously matter can be decomposed, I can break it into little parts. Well, there's an inherent possibility within matter for it to change forms, right? I could have a chair that I break apart now, and I reconstruct that chair to be a table. Right, so that now the form of the chair has changed, though the material parts of the chair, the matter within the chair, is essentially the same.